So folks, we're out here in the scrub. We're about an hour north of Oski Roadhouse, and I've stopped here. It's a good little rest area. I've never stopped here before, but it's always been on my places of stops to stop at for the night. I'm not stopping here for the night. I've just stopped to cook dinner. You're probably wondering why am I stopping so early to cook dinner. Well, we had a little bit of an incident on Saturday night where I was at my rest area where I usually like to go, and everything was fine. I cooked tea, was sitting down after dinner by the campfire, much bigger than this one, but sitting by the campfire, and about 10 feet away from me, a wild dog, dingo, came up out of the scrub, and he was about 10 foot away from me, and he was just sitting there looking at me. So I grabbed the stick off the fire, and I went towards him, and he ran towards the front of the truck, and he only didn't run far. He only ran from where I'm standing now to about where the bull bar on the truck is, and he stopped, and he looked back, and he wasn't gonna budge. Anyway, I turned around and I came back towards the campfire, and as I came back towards the campfire, there was his mate flanking me on the left-hand side, and he was down in the crouch position ready to pounce. A bit like, you know, sheepdogs do to sheep when they're rounding them up, and they get down into that low stance and ready to attack, and that frightened the shit out of me. So I went for him as well with the stick, and he took off. As I turned around, blow me down, the first dog, he was coming towards me. So I backed myself up against the truck. With wild dogs, they're typical pack animals. Dingoes are no different. A lot of people get confused between dingoes and wild dogs. There is a difference. Dingoes are Australian native animals, and you will not find a purebred dingo out in these parts. The only place you'll find a purebred dingo is allegedly on Fraser Island over in Queensland. But these dogs here, everyone calls them dingoes. They are very dingo-like. Honestly, you wouldn't pick the difference between that and a purebred dingo. There's not much other animal in them. They are mostly dingo, but they are a typical pack animal like wolves and lions and that sort of thing, where they will always hunt in a pack. So I've had these two dogs here, and I had my back up against the truck, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, where are the others? There's always more. So I worked my way along the edge of the truck there, and I opened the door and I climbed in, and that was it. I went to bed. So 15 minutes after that, they all started ransacking all my gear. They went through all my food boxes and emptied me out, and made a bit of a mess. They took half of my gear down to the bush. I had to go in the morning when it was sunrise. I went chasing, the fry pan was down in the bush, and, you know, scissors and this, that and the other, a few bits and pieces, a bucket. So a bit of a frightening moment. I didn't fear for my life or anything, but there has been a spate of dingo attacks around, and as they do hunt in packs, because they're a pack animal, they will bring quite large prey down. They do bring bulls down from time to time. When I was out Tom Price a few weeks back, I drove past and there was a pack of dogs attacking a cow. So they will attack humans. It's not that common, but they will do it. I wasn't taking any chances with this fella, and he was a fairly big dog too. He was a brindle dog, typical dingo colour, and he probably would have stood. His back would have been just above my knee, so not nearly as big as as say your North American wolves and so on, but still a big animal. And you get 5 or 6 of those together, which they will go around in those sort of numbers and attack. You get 5 or 6 of them, and of course they're going to bring you down. They're going to make a mess. And it was only about 2 weeks ago that a woman just north of here, only a couple of 100 kilometres north of here, a woman was out on a mine site at work, and she got mauled by a whole pack of dogs, and she was lucky to get away alive. She ended up in intensive care down in Perth Hospital. So those travellers that are out there, if you're stopping in places like this, do be careful. They are about, particularly around this area, there is a lot. Because of the mining camps and so on, they all sniff around looking for food. So they are about. So I'll have my dinner here, and when the sun goes down I'll put out my fire and take off, and I'll stay somewhere where there's a little where there's other trucks and so on, so it's a bit populated. Yeah, give me a bit of a fright, I can tell you. But anyway, that's what it's like out in the bush. You got to be careful. You got to have your wits about you. I didn't think it would happen to me, but sure as shit it did.